Now we're back to the Pretoria High Court, where 5 men are on trial for the murder of soccer star Senzo Meyiwa. Cross-examination of the state's first witness, Zandile Khumalo, continues. And yesterday, Khumalo was accused of contradicting the statements she gave police. Tempers flared, and Khumalo told one of the defense lawyers to watch his tone. eNCA's Manqoba Mchunu is there, and he brings us the latest. Good morning to you, Manqoba, and thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we were saying that Zandile Khumalo was really at the end of her tether, just in how she was responding to the questions later in the afternoon. What can we expect in court this morning?
Well, good morning, Cindy. In fact, we are expecting cross-examination to continue this morning with the lawyers representing accused number 5, Advocate Zandile Khumalo, expected to pick up where she left off yesterday. You recall that yesterday we saw, of course, those emotions running high in court as the defense grilled Khumalo on the inconsistencies between her statements and her evidence in court. And at one point, Khumalo telling Advocate Zandile Khumalo, who represents accused number 4 in this matter, that he must watch his tone when speaking to her, and that she's not his wife, and the judge having to intervene and diffuse that particular situation, and essentially asking them to respect the decorum of the court and calling for cool heads. But I think importantly what we heard from the defense is essentially evidence around what happened on the house on the 26th of October in 2014, and putting it to Zandile Khumalo that in fact it was one of the people inside the house that shot Senzo Meyiwa, with Advocate Zandile Khumalo in fact alluding to the fact that there were no intruders that had come into the house on that day, and that the very contradiction in Zandile Khumalo's testimony in court as well as the statement shows that this was not the truth that she had been telling to the court. And at one point I think he also accused her of shielding Longwe Twala, asking whether she was protecting him, and we saw the state of course interjecting to that particular line of questioning. And what they are insisting, of course, is that it was the people inside the house that were responsible for Senzo Meyiwa's death. And of course we also heard from Advocate Zandile Khumalo essentially also questioning Zandile Khumalo on the second docket, case 375, which implicates those that were inside the house as being suspects in the murder of Senzo Meyiwa, asking Zandile Khumalo whether she was aware that according to that particular docket she was an accused. She also grilled Khumalo about the intruders that came into the house, more especially accused number 2, who you would recall was pointed out by Zandile Khumalo in her evidences in chief last week as one of the intruders that was inside the house. And she asked Khumalo how she was able to identify Bongani Ntanzi, given that he was wearing a hoodie. And I think we also had questions around what exactly was the color of that hoodie that Bongani Ntanzi had been wearing on that particular day. And essentially what she was trying to show here is that Zandile Khumalo was not being truthful to the court, and in fact at some point even alluding to the fact that she had fabricated the story, and that this was just merely trying to fit the narrative that those that were inside the house had said happened on that night. And also referring to some of the statements that she quoted from one of the neighbors that testified to seeing somebody that was wearing a white t-shirt being pushed against the window when there was a noise at the Khumalo house. And what Advocate Mshololo is saying is that according to the evidence that is before this court, it was actually Senzo Meyiwa that had been wearing a white t-shirt at the time. So inference here is that there was a scuffle, and that this particular scuffle was among the people that were inside the house, and that really what happened after that is that possibly one of the people that was inside that particular home is the one that actually killed Senzo Meyiwa. So we are expecting that cross-examination to continue today, and of course Zandile Khumalo to face more tough questions from Advocate Zandile Khumalo as far as what happened on that day is concerned.
Just picking up on Advocate Zandile Khumalo also having almost demonstrated to the court that it is humanly impossible for an unarmed man now to take on an intruder into the house and risk his life. Where would he have gotten the bravery or courage from? And this is where Zandile Khumalo had responded that, well, you can ask him, which again proves that she's really almost losing her patience, and you're saying not befitting the decorum of the court. There's another matter that's also likely to happen now, the application for Zandile's sister Kelly Khumalo to be in the witness dock.
Well, certainly we did see some hostility between Zandile Khumalo and more especially the lawyers representing accused number 4. And I think we saw those heightened tensions when she was being asked about the contradictions in a statement as well as the evidence in court. And I think one of the other points where we saw, Zandile sort of losing her cool was when Advocate Zandile Khumalo was also questioning her about these suspects that she claimed to have seen on that particular day. And I think that's when Zandile Khumalo had, in fact, indicated to court at some point that she had wanted Advocate Khumalo to allow her to finish giving answers to the questions, and that she felt that she was being prevented by her from expressing herself really about what happened. And I think Advocate Zandile Khumalo also asking the court to intervene at that particular point. And of course, we saw, just how the situation, got out of control, and the judge having to intervene in those particular points. But you note an interesting issue that was raised during this particular cross-examination, the issue around Kelly Khumalo, who is the sister of Zandile Khumalo, not being able or not being on the witnesses that are expected to be called in this particular court. In fact, this was an admission that was made by the state advocate, George Baloyi, yesterday when Advocate Zandile Khumalo had been questioning Zandile Khumalo on some of the inconsistencies between what she had said in court and what her sister Kelly Khumalo had also said in her statements. And I think it's at that point that George Baloyi had indicated that, in fact, the state did not intend to call Kelly Khumalo to the stand. I think the defense also indicating that they're going to make an application as far as that is concerned to ensure that Kelly Khumalo does come to give her version of events to this particular court. They are insisting, of course, that those that were inside the house are really the ones that should be able to explain exactly what happened in the house, and also just to point out if there were any inconsistencies as far as their evidence is concerned, because what the defense is maintaining is that it was really not a crime that happened in that particular home. It was in fact one of the people that was inside the house that was responsible for this particular shooting. So we're expecting, of course, to hear exactly when the defense intends to make that particular application as far as Kelly Khumalo is concerned.
And Manqoba, Kelly Khumalo would be very key in this case because of the relationship, number one, romantic relationship she had with Senzo, and notwithstanding the SMSs that came out in court yesterday with regards to the tumultuous nature of their relationship, the fact that it was probably at its end and that there was quite a lot of frustration. Number two, the fact that, she had been one of the people in the house. So she is a person of interest, and it's very likely that the defense will get that subpoena for her to be in court.
Well, certainly I think there are many crucial questions that Kelly Khumalo has to answer to this court. And I think you make mention of one of the issues that was brought up by the defense as far as those SMSs are concerned. And what the defense was trying to show there is that, Kelly Khumalo had been unhappy at the time, and she had wanted to break off the relationship with Senzo Meyiwa. In fact, I think Advocate Zandile Khumalo also alluding to a particular pattern that had been in that relationship, where it appeared that at the time Kelly Khumalo was not happy entirely in this relationship, and that she had wanted to dispose of Senzo Meyiwa. And in fact, his argument and what he had put to Zandile Khumalo was the fact that there appeared to have been a pattern where they'd wanted to remove Senzo Meyiwa, which he says ultimately led to what happened in that particular homestead. So I think based on the nature of the relationship that Kelly Khumalo had with Senzo Meyiwa, I think the lawyers for the defense would want Kelly Khumalo to come and answer to this court as far as those SMSs are concerned, but also around just what happened in the house. I think there were also contradictory statements that Advocate Zandile Khumalo pointed out to, and one of those is the fact that according to Kelly Khumalo, she says in a statement that this particular scuffle that ensued in the house moments before Senzo Meyiwa was shot actually started in the sitting room, whereas Zandile Khumalo in her evidence in court had said that the scuffle had taken place in the kitchen at the house. And so there are just those minor details and inconsistencies and disparities that they'll want to clear with Kelly Khumalo. And so it will be crucial for the defense, they say, that Kelly Khumalo actually does come to court and that she also has a day in court. And of course, you recall that in the previous interviews that Kelly Khumalo has done with eNCA as well, she has alluded to the fact that, they are innocent and that she also wants to have her day in court. And so the defense insisting that they want to make that application for Kelly Khumalo to actually come and give her side of the story. So we're expecting, of course, at this point to hear exactly how that defense plans to put that particular application and when exactly they're likely to do that.
All right, Manqoba, really appreciate it. Thank you indeed. That's Manqoba Mchunu, eNCA reporter out at the North Gauteng High Court, where the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial will resume again at 10 o'clock this morning.